for you for a Christmas card series that Daisy and I are going to be doing, Daisy from Daisie Scraps. We did this same series last year and had so much fun. Basically, we decided we both really loved watching Christina Warner's holiday card series, and we're not really card makers, so we thought, wouldn't it be fun to actually try and make a few of her cards? So we did, and it turned out really good, and I think we both surprised ourselves with how much fun we actually had making those cards and how well they turned out. So we thought we would reprise the series again this year, but instead of doing Christina's cards, we're going to try a couple other people's. So we're starting off with a card by Nichol Spohr. You saw it there at the beginning. She is obviously one of the queens of cards too, and definitely known for her backgrounds and the scenes that she creates. And so this is a great card for us to jump in with and see how we do. So I'm starting off with my background, and the trick to this one is really just to build up the layers, not to go in too heavy-handed with any one color right from the beginning, but to really just start on the edges and have a light touch and build up those layers as you go. And you can keep going, so fuss with it until you have the color exactly how you want. But there will come a point where the paper is just like saturated, there's no tooth left in it, and you know, you're done at that point. Now, Nichol usually uses a smooth cardstock, like Nina Solar White or something along those lines, Nina 110 pound. This is textured, and so it does make a difference when you're smushing around and you're blending your Tim Holtz inks. I used both oxides and just the regular distress inks, and it does make a difference. So if you have different types of white cardstock, experiment with them and see how each one takes the color and how much you can kind of build it up. But I kind of felt like I got to a point where this was as blue as it was going to get. So this is what I stuck with. So Nichol ran her background through a die, or like an embossing folder and a die, and that's how she got that snow in the background. I don't have anything like that, so I decided I do have a stencil, and I went ahead and I started off with this mother of pearl, does it say structure gel? Whatever it is. It's just like, it has that really pretty sheen to it like a mother of pearl does, and I thought that that might be a fun look on the background. But you'll see I also held up some texture paste because I think this dries just way too translucent. Excuse me, it's first thing in the morning and I haven't got my voice yet, so I apologize for that. But it was just too translucent. It's very pretty here because the light really catches it, but when you're actually looking at it in person and you're sort of holding it more vertically, it fades a little bit. So I'm going to go back over it with some texture paste, but you know, you use what you have. So if you don't have anything like this, you could splatter some white paint, some acrylic paint, you could splatter some gesso, you could use some mists to splatter, you can use a white gel pen and just draw in your little dots. Whatever you think you have that you can make give the impression of snow in your background, that's what you want to use. Even sequins, if that's all you had was just a bunch of sequins, you could go ahead and scatter them around the background too. So now this is my little character that I'm going to use. He's so cute. This is a stamp from Lawn Fawn. It's called Oh What Fun, and it's just a cute little stamp. So I'm coloring him in using some watercolor brush markers. These are from Wish, so they're like a no-name version of like the Zig water brush markers, or there's a few other companies that have them out there. They work pretty good. They're not the greatest, and I haven't really taken the time to play with them as much as I probably could, but I thought that they might be fun to just pull out and use on this. So I've stamped my guy 6 times in case I mess up. So you can see with this first one, I decided to try to really push the watercolor aspect of it. I'm using brown as my shadow color. That works really well with red. And then I have just the two different colors of red, and I'm painting my little bear kind of like a nice warm brown color. So that's my first guy. And I really did use the watercolor brush for almost all of this. But I think this is the only one. Yeah, here I decide, you know what, I'm just going to go right in with the markers. The colors aren't very saturated, so they were fine. And they weren't bleeding on the paper either. They stayed right in where I put them. So they do move around a little bit with the water, so you'll see in a few places I just kind of blend them. They don't quite blend like an alcohol-based marker. But if you're a little bit quicker and you make sure that you're not letting the ink dry, then they work really good. So here I thought I would try, because I didn't like how harsh the brown was in the first one, so I thought I would try using my watercolor brush to lay the shadow for this second one, but this one you can hardly see it at all. So I do have to go back in and add my little shadow. It was all just about playing. So again, this is where I would encourage you, if you don't have anything like this, if you have Copics, go ahead and use your Copics. I actually don't have any, so I knew that that wasn't going to be an option for me. You could use watercolor pencils, you could use regular pencil crayons, literally whatever you have. If you enjoy watercolors and you want to actually pull out a watercolor palette and do it that way, even Crayola markers, whatever you have, that's what you use to color those in. And there's my little guys. Actually, all 6 of them turned out really cute, so I'm going to try to make a couple more cards. So here you can see I've basically just taken that stencil, and because there was enough dimension with my original snowflakes, I was able to lay the stencil right on top and kind of catch the grooves of each of those little dots, so I know that I have my stencil in exactly the same position, and I'm just smushing some texture paste over top. Not quite over top of all of them. I'm not being super perfect. This gave a much more dense white color. So some of them still have that mother of pearl shine, some of them don't. And I'm just showing you here. So I could have used my whip spackle, I could have used acrylic paint, I could have used gesso. All of those, well, the acrylic paint probably would have given me the most bold white right off the bat. The gesso, I think you might have to do a couple of layers. Same with that whipped spackle. They kind of dry a little bit more translucent, but you know, you just do whatever you can. So now I will cut my cardstock. I don't think I said this at the beginning. I actually decided, instead of using just a smaller, say like a 5x7 sized background, I actually went ahead and did this on a 12x12 sheet because I knew I was going to try to make at least 3. That's definitely a thing for me as a non-card maker. I feel like I tend to gravitate more towards the cards where I can make at least a batch of them. So here you can see I got 3 cards out of that 12x12 sheet, and now I can use that piece that I cut off at the bottom to make my little sloping hills. So this obviously is a die as well. If you have any form of these sloping hills dies, the stitched ones, Simon Says Stamps has a whole bunch of them. A lot of companies do. You know, you use whatever you have. I don't have anything like that, so I just went ahead and made my own little hill. So each card will look a little bit different. I really just kind of experimented with how I wanted the hills to look. Now this also means I don't have the die cut word, the hello. But again, if you want to use thickers, you could go with that. If you have a different die cut that cuts out a word that you think you could match the 2 together, that would be perfect as well. So here you can see I skipped ahead, but each of my hills is a little bit different. I liked the idea of being able to experiment with Santa going up a hill, Santa coming down the hill, and I think all three of them turned out so cute. And I fussy cut around the whole thing except that little space where the sleigh is, because when you lay it down on the hill, I lined it up so you can't even tell that that isn't just the snow from the background. And then there's Santa going down. And now the sentiment that comes with this stamp set says, "Oh, what fun." So for this first one, I'm able to kind of bend it enough that it fits around the slope of my little hill. So I'll go ahead and stamp it like that. And of course, I probably should have stamped it before I actually stuck everything down. But, you know, the first time you make a card is a lot of trial and error, and so you figure it all out. But in the end, it actually stamped just beautifully without too much worry. So now you'll see I fuss a little bit over this one, trying to get that exact right angle, and I think it could have worked. And if you have a MISTI tool or the Tim Holtz platform, anything like that, go for it. Use that, and really you can take your time, and any sentiment that you're trying to use, you can manipulate it around that corner. But again, I don't have one of those, so I'm going to go ahead and cut my stamp up. And now I can make sure each word follows the slope exactly the way that I want it to. And I know a lot of people are nervous about cutting their stamps, but this stamp will fit back together with no problem. So if you want to use it as just one solid phrase and have it all fit the way it was supposed to, the way it was designed, it will also do that. So now, because I don't have anything to represent that hello in the original card, I am going to just punch out some of these big snowflakes and use that as my sort of secondary solid white piece. And that punch is just a Martha Stewart punch from years and years ago. And I'll just glue them down. Oh, they're so cute. And add a little wink of Stella to them, just to give a little bit of shimmer and shine. And also here on the snow, I think I need to add a little bit of glycerin to my wink of Stella. I'm almost out. So we'll just build it up. That's the nice thing about this. You can kind of build up the layers of your glitter, and they kind of sit on each other. So, and this one is a gold wink of Stella that I'm just going to put along the edge of the sleigh and the little sleighs themselves, whatever they're called, the little ski parts of the sleigh. And this is my background card. So I just went through my stash and looked for any of these pre-made cards that I had, and I thought the silver would be kind of fun and festive and adds a little bit of shimmer on the outside. And there is my card. Oh, Santa's fur gets a little bit of glimmer as well. And then the last thing I wanted to do, just to kind of give an extra texture, and again, that little sparkle for Christmas, and especially on this one because I made my white hills so wide, it takes up like half of the card. I decided it would be fun to put some sequins. So each of my cards gets a different sequins because, again, I'm experimenting. So one has clear, one has like a white kind of shimmery sequins, and then one has silver sequins. Now on the inside, I will stamp the other part of this stamp, which just says Merry Christmas. I'm not sure why it's in brackets, but that's okay. We'll go with it. So it says Merry Christmas, and then I'll put a little snowflake, and that's my card. So please be sure to check out the links down below for Daisie's card and also Nicole's card as well, so you can see the original that inspired us. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. This is such a fun series, so I can't wait to see what the rest of November brings us. Until next time, happy scrapping. Bye!